The Twisted Deception of Pam Hupp. On December 27, 2011, the quiet town of Troy, Missouri, became the backdrop for a crime so convoluted it would take over a decade to untangle. Pam Hupp, ostensibly a devoted friend, drove Betsy Faria home following a grueling chemotherapy session. Betsy, aged 42, was in the throes of a courageous battle with cancer, placing her trust in those closest to her. Tragically, that evening marked her final moments of life. Hours later, her husband, Russ Faria, returned from a social gathering to a nightmare. Betsy's lifeless body lay in their living room, having sustained more than 50 knife wounds. The brutality suggested a deeply personal vendetta. While Russ frantically contacted emergency responders, investigators were immediately drawn to a significant $150,000 life insurance policy. Despite Russ's ironclad alibi, corroborated by 4 friends who were with him miles away, Lincoln County authorities remained laser-focused on him. In a controversial 2013 trial, Russ was convicted and sentenced to life. However, the defense highlighted a glaring oversight. Days before her death, Betsy had been convinced to name Pam Hupp as her sole beneficiary. Hook. Imagine a friend staying by your side during cancer treatments, only to be the one waiting for the clock to run out on your life. If you find these deep dives into the dark side of humanity gripping, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a file. The Antifreeze Assassins, Diane and Rachel Stout. In April 2012, Mark Stout, a 61-year-old resident of Springfield, Missouri, passed away following a sudden, agonizing illness. His wife, Diane, and daughter, Rachel, assumed the roles of grieving caregivers. Initially, physicians attributed the death to natural causes. However, the misfortune followed a chilling pattern. By September, their 26-year-old son, Sean, succumbed to similar, unexplained symptoms. The medical community remained baffled until June 2013, when 24-year-old Sarah Stout was hospitalized with identical, life-threatening ailments. Sarah survived, albeit with permanent neurological trauma and blindness. An anonymous tip eventually led police to exhume the bodies of Mark and Sean. Toxicology reports revealed lethal concentrations of ethylene glycol, the primary component in antifreeze. Diane and Rachel had been systematically poisoning their family members by lacing their drinks with the sweet-tasting chemical. Their motive was horrifyingly mundane. They viewed their kin as annoying burdens. Diane's own diary revealed a calculated, cold-blooded plan, documenting her resentment and the meticulous research they conducted to mimic natural illness. Diane received life without parole, while Rachel was sentenced to life with the possibility of release. The thrill kill of Alyssa Bustamante. October 21, 2009, remains a day of infamy in St. Martin's, Missouri. 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton vanished after venturing out to play. A frantic community-wide search ended in heartbreak when her body was discovered in a shallow grave in a nearby wooded area. The culprit was not a seasoned predator, but a 15-year-old neighbor named Alyssa Bustamante. Investigators unearthed Alyssa's diary, which contained a bone-chilling entry. She described the act of ending Elizabeth's life as amazing and pretty enjoyable. The investigation revealed that Alyssa had pre-dug the grave 2 weeks prior, demonstrating an extreme level of premeditation. She lured the young girl into the woods under the guise of showing her something special. Charged as an adult, Alyssa pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. In early 2024, her first bid for parole was denied. The board noted a distinct lack of genuine remorse or rehabilitation. As of 2026, she remains incarcerated, with her next hearing slated for 2027. This case continues to fuel debates regarding juvenile psychopathy and the efficacy of the justice system in handling youthful offenders capable of such calculated depravity. CTA. We're just scratching the surface of these Missouri mysteries. If you want to support the channel and keep these investigations going, drop a like on this video and tell us in the comments which case has shocked you the most so far. The Reptile King's Betrayal. Ben Rennick. Ben Rennick was a world-renowned python breeder who had built a lucrative empire near New Florence, Missouri. On June 8, 2017, his wife, Lindley Rennick, made a frantic call to 911, claiming she found Ben dead at their facility. He had been shot 8 times. While the scene initially hinted at a robbery, the sheer number of shell casings suggested an execution fueled by rage. The facade of their marriage soon crumbled as detectives uncovered Lindley's mounting financial stress and her ongoing extramarital affair. The breakthrough occurred when Lindley's lover confessed his involvement, detailing a plot orchestrated by Lindley to seize control of the business and collect insurance money. Despite the cold-blooded nature of the crime, Lindley's defense successfully argued that her accomplice was the primary aggressor. In December 2021, she was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 16 years. For Ben's family, the sentence felt like a secondary betrayal, as the man who revolutionized the reptile community was lost to the greed of the woman he trusted most. The groom's double life. Molly Watson. Just 72 hours before she was set to walk down the aisle in April 2018, 35-year-old Molly Watson was found executed on a rural road. The investigation into her fiancé, James Addy, revealed a staggering deception. He was already married and had been leading a double life for years. As the wedding date loomed, the pressure of his colliding worlds led him to a permanent, violent solution. James lured Molly to a secluded spot and shot her in the head to prevent his secret from being exposed. He was sentenced to life without parole, a conviction that was upheld in 2023. The disappearance of Mengchi G. In October 2019, Joseph Elledge reported his wife, Mengchi G., missing from their home in Columbia, Missouri. He painted a picture of a mother who had simply abandoned her toddler. However, his controlling behavior in GP's data told a different story. His vehicle had been tracked to a remote area of Rockbridge Memorial State Park on the night of her disappearance. It wasn't until 2021 that hikers found her remains. Joseph was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 28 years. By 2024, his final appeals were exhausted, ensuring he remains behind bars while their daughter grows up without her mother. Hook. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who claims to love you. Stay tuned as we look at a case where the badge didn't represent protection, but a license to kill. The tragic crossfire. Marcus Hyslop III. The senselessness of urban violence was punctuated on August 28, 2021, when 3-year-old Marcus Hyslop III was killed in a drive by shooting while playing outside his Kansas City home. The investigation was hampered by the chaotic nature of the neighborhood conflict. Eventually, Derek Wren Jr. was identified through DINA and surveillance footage. Wren later claimed the child was not the intended target, but his reckless disregard for life resulted in a 22-year prison sentence handed down in 2023. The light sentence remains a point of intense grief for a family that lost a toddler to a feud he had no part in. The officer and the student, Jesse Valencia. In 2004, the body of University of Missouri student Jesse Valencia was found with his throat slit. The investigation took a shocking turn when forensic evidence, including DINA and rare arm hairs, pointed toward a Columbia police officer, Stephen Rios. The two had been involved in a clandestine affair that Jesse threatened to expose. Rios, a married man with a child, used his professional training to subdue and murder Jesse. After a series of trials and appeals, Rios was sentenced to life, plus 23 years. He died in prison in early 2025, bringing a final end to a case that shattered public trust in local law enforcement. The tragedy of Precious Doe, Erica Green. For years, Kansas City was haunted by the image of Precious Doe, a young girl found decapitated in 2001. It wasn't until 2005 that she was identified as Erica Green. The truth was more horrific than anyone imagined. Her stepfather, Harold Johnson, had struck her with an ashtray and, alongside her mother Michelle, used hedge clippers to dispose of her remains. Harold received life and died in prison in 2014. Michelle, who served 25 years for her role in the cover-up, was released on parole in 2022. Erica's case remains a somber reminder of the failures in child welfare systems. CTA. These cases are a testament to the tireless work of investigators who refuse to let the truth stay buried. If you believe in justice for these victims, hit the bell icon so you're always notified when we drop a new case file. Redemption and the death penalty. Brian Dorsey. On December 23, 2006, Brian Dorsey murdered his cousins, Benjamin and Sarah Bonney, in their home while their daughter was present. Driven by drug debts and a drug-induced psychosis, Dorsey's crime was undeniable. However, his 18 years on death row became a subject of national debate. More than 70 correctional officers petitioned for his clemency, citing his total rehabilitation and model inmate status. Despite this unprecedented support from the prison staff themselves, the state moved forward. Brian Dorsey was executed via lethal injection on April 9, 2024, sparking renewed conversation on whether true redemption should factor into capital punishment. The cold case of Angela Michelle Lawless. In 1992, Angela Lawless was found murdered in Scott County. The case became a symbol of judicial failure after Josh Keezer was wrongfully convicted and spent 16 years in prison before his exoneration in 2009. The case went cold for another decade until modern DNA technology and a dedicated special investigator identified James Lamb. In a stunning development, Lamb was arrested in 2024. As of 2026, the trial is moving through the system, with the public hoping that after 34 years, the true perpetrator will finally face the consequences for taking Angela's life.